I know how to design. I just don't know how to market, and what's kind of the difference between that. In the future, yeah, who knows? I guess we'll find out now that the wireframes are mostly done for the MVP. Other than the creating different versions for like V1, V2, or all that, kind of what else is there, to market, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So part of what I want to do is, Graham, I think Craig he's kind of lived marketing for the last, 45 years.
Sort of, yeah.
In all the various iterations, right? And of course, what people always get confused by is the difference between the tools and the intent, right?
Yeah.
The business problem of marketing is the same as it's always been, which is how do we figure out what a customer needs and what they're willing to pay for it? And then how do we then build that and tell them that we've built it and convince them that what we've built is what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that in the essence is the basics of marketing, and obviously implied within that is sales, right? And that's where people always get confused as to the process of selling versus marketing. They're in some ways they're kissing cousins because they're flip sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
And everything that you do in design, everything you do in developing a product is actually really truly about marketing, because it's all about figuring out, okay, what is it that the customer needs? What pain are they willing to live with in order to get the value that you're going to provide them, right? And then how can you make it easier for them? And how can you make it more cost effective? How do you create value, right? So those problems have been the same since cavemen were trading, flint for dead rabbits, kind of stuff, right? And now that we do it with Bitcoin and we do it with bits and bytes and all kinds of stuff, it's still the same problem. We just use different tools for it, all right? And I think what's really interesting about Craig, and one of the things that I really appreciate as I bring him into different companies, is he's got this perspective of history, right? And so he's seen how marketing's changed, how media's gone from TV to computer to digital to phone. He's seen how marketing media has changed, from newspaper and paper and ink to all the way to to bits and bytes and video on the phone, right? And so parts of what we have to start to think about within ProBook is how do we begin to leverage, and we've started, using, whether it's Instagram, whether it's using Twitter, we've started to use a number of these different social media platforms to basically build awareness. But how do you make sure that you're making people, number one, how do you make sure you're making the right people aware of the right things that are going to cause them to want to have interest in you, right? And ultimately be willing to kind of buy what you have to sell. But even more importantly, and I think this is where you're going to be key, Graham, is how do you make sure you're designing the right things so that, people, when they come to the store and they say they want chocolate cake, we have enough chocolate cake, right? We don't have strawberry cake because no one wants strawberry. Everybody wants chocolate, right? And that's the absolute key in software development, right? So the one thing that I know about, so Chris Yates, Craig, you know Chris, right?
I know Chris, yeah.
So Chris is actually our architect, right? And so he's riding herd over the development team and the development process. So I'm absolutely confident, and I brought Chris to the table. So I'm very confident that Chris is going to get the right thing developed from our list, right? And get it developed the right way. But right now, we're kind of the process by which that we use to drive, okay, what is the right thing? How do we know that what our customers want, right? And how do we make sure that we're building that? That piece right now is not an exact process. I mean, very seldomly is it an exact process, but that's something that I think we got to get better at. And I think that's something where Craig can potentially help us, as well as a number of other folks in town, both technology companies and others, right? So one of the things about me, Graham, Craig certainly knows because I've pulled him into a number of my different companies. I have different companies that are in different things. And so one of the things that I love, part of the reason I have them is because then I can pull a string and connect two companies that can then help each other, right? So DitchBridge is a great example. Still a startup that's been struggling. They haven't quite figured out exactly what it is they're doing, but they got some really cool technology. And it might very well behoove ProBook to use DitchBridge to do some video distribution, to do some marketing and all that kind of good stuff. But we'll figure that out as we go, right?
Yeah.
But one of the other companies is Connection. So you had kind of texted me and said, "Hey, Doug, what's Connection?" So connection is that, if you remember a couple months ago, I had kind of come to Andre and said, hey, would ProBook be willing to sponsor a video kind of online digital media symposium, right? And it wasn't the right time at that point, right? Well, that's Connection. Connection is the group that puts that deal together. We've now done, what, 2 different sessions, Craig?
We've done 2 different sessions.
So, and both of them have started to grow the audience, right? And we now have a series of them planned throughout the balance of 2021. So we'll do about 1 a month, right? But we now have this community that we can begin to market to, right? And we can start to publicize messages to. And I think ProBook would be a kind of a perfect entity to begin to do that with, because the audience, by and large, or the community by and large, are all CPG executives, all consumer packaged goods executives, as well as technology executives, right? Which means what? Well, they're all business people, right, in various different businesses. But number 2, they tend to be former athletes. And they also then tend to have kids who are athletes. So they're all familiar with travel sports. They're all familiar with having been on college teams, high school teams, and all of the challenges that are currently encumbered in though running and managing those kinds of places, right? Obviously, ProBook solves all those questions, or at least we're trying to solve all those questions, right? And so then the question becomes, how do we best use something like Connections to publicize and blow out the ProBook message and the ProBook brand, right? And so I think one of the things that I want us to kind of focus on is Craig, we created a survey that we sent out to probably a couple hundred folks that were all personal contacts of us that are involved in founding and running ProBook, that we knew were either parents of athletes or were former athletes, folks that were involved in travel sports and club sports. And so we had them, kind of fill out this survey. We didn't use SurveyMonkey. What we use, Graham, do you know?
Google Forms.
Okay. And it was just a simple, probably 10-question thing. And I think we ended up getting like 25 or 30 results. And it wasn't particularly productive, but we got some feedback, right? And I think what we're really trying to see is, hey, if we did send something out like this, could we get people to answer it? And was there enough motivation, right? Now, what's interesting is I'm involved on Facebook. One's a basketball coaches group that's got 25,000 members, and then another is a softball, like parents, softball players, softball coaches, and that one's got like 1,500 or 15,000 members, right? And so I've put some questions out there just as seed questions to see if people would respond. By and large, they have. But the question becomes, how do we get this survey? How do we begin to use a survey? How do we design a survey in such a way that we could send it out, for instance, to the Connections audience and to the Connections contacts, and see if we couldn't drive volumes of people to start to fill that out, right? And then assuming that we get it to the point where we're really confident in it, then I want to be able to post it on these Facebook groups. But I don't want to put it out in front of 25,000 people till we know we're really sure that that's the information we want to get.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
So one of the marketing challenges that we have these days is, even though with the web and electronic media and things like that, we have more capabilities to do more than we've ever done before, we also have the capability to confuse our audience to a greater extent than before.
Absolutely.
And working in technical media, I constantly find myself working for clients that don't understand what they're buying. And oftentimes they think they're buying one thing, like, well, I'm gonna build a website, so that I can have, basically thousands of people coming to my virtual store, but they don't realize that they have to find a way to drive people to a website, or they're gonna post social media, and they think that's a one-time thing, that, well, like, I'm gonna build a Facebook presence for my business, and then I don't have to maintain it every day, and they don't realize that they're entering a world that requires daily attention, and they don't have anybody allocated to manage that resource. So one of the challenges that we're going to face with any technical operation, ProBook included, is making sure that your prospects and your clients have a good understanding of what you do, how it interfaces with their business, and then once you produce a tool for them, what they need to do with it. Because one of the most common misunderstandings that people have in the as recipients of marketing is they think you're going to hand them something and it magically is going to solve their problems for them, and they don't realize that basically you're giving them a tool that they need to use. And once they find that out, oftentimes it kind of scares them and bothers them, and they're not really happy with the fact that they've hired you to do a job, and in return you've given them back a job to do. And that's oftentimes one of the conundrums of the world that we find ourselves working in.
Okay,
that's great. Well, so one of the other things too that I think I'd like to get both you guys involved in. So Andre and I have a phone call this afternoon with North Central High School, and so we're actually talking to the JEL Center, which I'm not even sure what JEL stands for, but it basically has
Everett Light. Yeah,
exactly. Well, dude, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I went there.
Well, what is it?
It's a second building outside of North Central High School where they do all the career classes.
Okay, well, I know that it's a separate building, but what do you mean when you say career classes? What does that mean?
All this, so they've got an auto shop over there. I took architecture classes there when I was at North Central. Their architecture school is over there. They've got a radio TV center over there. They've got a multimedia center over there. Lost you there for a second.
No, I turned off my camera because hang on a second because I want to tell you who I'm meeting with to see if you have.
Oh, okay.
Hang on, but keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, basically, it's like a trade school, basically. And some of the stuff they have is pretty much college level, and then other stuff is like their auto shop.
Hey,
there's a photography school there. I'm sorry.
Do you know Nicole Jagao or Jagao?
No. I would bet there's probably at least 100% turnover since I was last in the building.
Well, so she heads up that she's like the principal of the JEL Center, right? And so what I got introduced to her. So the former football coach, is the head of the entrepreneurship program, and so has had me come in and speak at his classes. His daughter plays softball with my daughter as well as basketball, and his wife is the assistant varsity basketball coach, right? But so he's introducing me to her, to the head of the JPL Center, and basically what we're talking about is potentially getting high school kids who would be interns working for us in web production, in marketing, in video production, all that kind of stuff, right? And so part of what I want to do is basically I want to use North Central as kind of our beachhead to get basically connections at all of the mixed schools, because like I know the Carmel has their whole video production center. It's named after Sage Steele. She donated a bunch of money from ESPN, and they basically do all of the students do all the production of the TV broadcast of the basketball games, football games, and all that kind of good stuff. So, Graham, this all becomes potential content to be put on ProBook, right? Yeah. As well as have the kids basically help us produce almost viral video kind of stuff, right? That could then be sales lead and introduce us to all of the mixed schools, obviously, and then use the mixed schools to get us out into all of the Indiana high schools, and then from there, obviously, conquer the world.
That'd be great. Yeah. So in terms of the connection, you're thinking your primary goal is to send out a survey, and what would the intro of that be, or what type of questions?
Well, so that was the question I actually kind of had for you, right? I didn't know how did we come up with the questions that we had in that original survey? Who wrote those?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
I think
well, so obviously maybe this becomes part of our conversation tomorrow morning, because we have a staff meeting every Friday morning Craig, just so you know.
Okay.
And I think, so I think part of, I don't know that we've kind of designated within our own team who's going to own, quote unquote, the marketing effort, right? And I think right now it's kind of been shared by the three of you. We probably need to start to kind of refine that a little bit, right? And then I think out of that, I think the first topic we talk about, obviously, is the whole NCAA March Madness deal. Because obviously, Craig, I'm assuming the NCAA is going to be based here in Indianapolis, the men's, and you're going to have Division II and Division III actually in Fort Wayne and Evansville.
Really?
And you're also going to have the Big Ten men's tourney, the Big Ten women's tourney. You're going to have the Horizon League tourney. So basically, over the next 45 days, you're going to have more basketball played in Central Indiana that the eyes of the world are looking
than the rest of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in all seriousness. And so then the question becomes, how do we virally, without infringing or getting in trouble with anybody, how do we make sure ProBook is seen, throughout this next 6 weeks in a very positive way? And what's the message we want to convey, right? And then how do we then turn that around and turn that into an ongoing marketing effort and branding effort that we could then pull, whether it be high school kids, whether it's college kids, whether it's amateur dads, shooting video of their kid playing, all that kind of stuff would generate content for us on ProBook and could drive eyeballs, could drive, and maybe it doesn't even go on ProBook, right? Maybe it goes on our Instagram page, maybe it goes on our Twitter page, maybe it goes other places. Do we have a Snapchat page?
No.
Okay. I mean, there's another great example where maybe, and trust me, I think I'm on Snapchat only so I can make sure my daughters aren't posting anything up there that they shouldn't be posting. And which is really funny because I'm not even really sure how the hell to get on it. So it's not like I'm really doing anything. It's the threat of me doing something that is controlling their behavior.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I think that's all kind of stuff that we probably need to be kind of thinking through, right?
That's great. Yeah, that'd be an awesome opportunity to get involved with that, and give any tips, that'd be great. So the connection, are you thinking about putting like an ad during the event, or?
Well, I don't know. The quick answer is, I mean, I never am a short for ideas, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we could do. But I think what would be actually more interesting is for us to do some stuff that's not quote unquote official, right? And it could be anything as silly as posting, a whole bunch of posters around all of the different venues where the games are going to be played, so that literally everywhere that people go, they think they see the ProBook, the ProBook brand. And it points to our webpage, or it points to something that, that we can
QR code,
we can then direct their attention, right?
Sure. Well, along those lines, I mean, we could even use a forum much like this, like a StreamYard thing, and interview like restaurant owners around the venues, and have them, talk about what's coming that way, and then post the video clips on social media and stuff like that. And then what you end up doing is then, if you've got the restaurant owners who want all the publicity they can get, if you're pushing them out on social media, then they won't mind if you put posters up in their establishments and things like that you can use to then attract participants and things like that. Because that's one of the things that's going to happen, is that all the people that are participating are going to go to area restaurants.
Now, one of the things, so the NCAA, right, is basically allowing some tickets at all the events. The two groups of people that they have already pointed out that will have access to the tickets will be student cheering sections from each of the different schools, and then the coaching staffs of the non-schools that are participating, or the schools that are not participating. So normally the largest coaching meeting of the world takes place at the NCAA Final Four, which would be here in Indianapolis, right? So the National Basketball Coaches Association normally has its annual meetings at the Final Four. That all got canceled last year, and it's not at all clear. I think that the NABC hasn't made a decision yet whether they're going to have any in-person meetings here in Indianapolis in March. We're talking about doing a lot of stuff virtually, right?
Yeah.
But the NCAA wants to allow coaches to attend the Final Four as almost a thank you for having run their seasons and everything else in the middle of COVID, right? So I think there's a really kind of an interesting idea. I haven't even made. I got 2 folks that would immediately be able to introduce us into the NABC. I haven't even made those phone calls yet because I didn't even know what I was going to say, what the ask was going to be. But I think there's a real opportunity for us to kind of set something up, to your point, Craig, because a lot of those coaches have coaching websites, right? They have coaching videos. They have stuff that they have on their own web pages, or if they have a separate for-profit company that they run along with being the coach at Louisville or whatever. So I think there's some things we could do, grabbing that content, right, and then putting a ProBook brand on it, putting it out on ProBook, and then kind of making it available to coaches to then distribute, right, and that kind of stuff. And obviously, all of that, Graham, would drive visibility to ProBook, right, from coaches, which is who we really want to get to, because it's going to be the coaches that can then go to the athletic director and say, hey, look, I need this product.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Yeah, I totally agree. It helps that like our audience is coaches. It can be hard if we put up all these posters, which sounds it's an awesome idea, but we attract, these random people who are, kids or, young adults, and ProBook doesn't really have a solid premium right now, so they couldn't really do anything if they had it. But if we attracted the marketing towards, coaches and players, that would be really beneficial.
Okay. So those are the kind of conversations I think that we need to kind of really kind of do, right? And I think, Craig, given your experience, you've done viral stuff before, whether in the rock music scene or whether concert promotion, but obviously this kind of athletic event and all that kind of good stuff.
Sure.
So now, how to make all this work? I have the latest idea. My idea is to get people together and throw a bunch of ideas out, right? And then we start to figure out from there. So in terms of next steps, so Graham, I'll talk to Andre later today. I'm sure you'll talk to him as well. Let's get this topic on the agenda for tomorrow, right? Great. Then we can kind of talk through it as a team, right? Number one. Number two, I'll find out, Craig, who this lady is that we're meeting with this afternoon, all right? And so do you have any contacts or any involvement at all with the JEL Center?
Not directly, although if you want to say I'm involved and I'm an alumnus, that's fine. I've got connections over at Lawrence Central because my kids went there and were all involved in media production over there.
Okay.
And also I've had some connection over at Warren Central because I did a couple of projects over there over the years, helping them out there. And Warren Central's huge these days.
Well, so Andre, the founder, one of the other founders of ProBook, actually played football at Warren. So he's he's already got contacts within the athletic department, but I don't think we have any contacts like into the student video or student production group. So
well, I've got some contacts over there.
Okay, so if you don't mind, what I'm going to share this afternoon is that we have you involved as an alumnus of North Central, and that you already are introducing us to Lawrence Central because that's where your kids went, and Warren Central because what that'll do is provide some coverage to the North Central lady. Oh, hey, I better hurry up. I want to catch up. I don't want to lose out to the other two schools, right?
Yeah, I've been like a pro bono advisor to both of the media programs over at Lawrence Central and over at Warren Central. So
okay, cool. Well, what would be really cool is if somehow, Graham, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, right?
Yeah.
If we could somehow kick off a student competition using Warren Central, Lawrence Central, and North Central, right, as kind of the, I don't want to call them sponsoring entities, but maybe the faculty directors of those three programs are the judges, right? And it's all about students in Indianapolis celebrating basketball, right? And it literally would be an amateur video production kind of thing. And what we give is for whatever school district wins, we give them a free year of ProBook, right, as the award. So then it doesn't cost us anything, right? And it allows us to put our brand on it, right? And we have all these kids running around, putting ProBook videos and ProBook brands up for us. It's not costing us anything. and it's a whole way for us to kind of kick off, and it gets Andre on the news and all that kind of good stuff. And it's all about Hoosiers celebrating, or the Heartland celebrating basketball, or students celebrating sports, or, you know,
Right.
hell, I don't know. I mean,
And then once you start saying that the schools could win this program, you'll end up with a lot of faculty people checking into it to see what you are and what you do. And if they might win something, what is it that we might win?
so think about, my guess is what we would probably need, right? We'd need some sort of landing page on our website that basically would be a basic information. You as a school district would sign up, or you as a student would sign your school district up. Hey, I want to be in this competition. Would have the rules of the competition, if you will, right? And then at the same time would have do you want more your athletic?
Oh, you're breaking up.
Nope, he froze up there.
You guys, are you there?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah, you just froze for a little bit.
Gotcha. Well, Huddle just broke in and tried to end our conversation. So
I love it. No, I think that's a great idea. I think we should totally do that. Like, get involved with like the students too. That's a great idea, especially with the media kids. We can talk to their teachers and be like, hey, let's, like, for the next assignment, like, create a 30-second promo for this new company called ProBook. You know, like, we'll post them all on our website, and the winner can get, you know, 3 year of ProBook. That'd be great.
Exactly. I mean, dude, all we'd have to do is put it on a YouTube channel or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not even like we'd have to host it ourselves unless we wanted to, right? So now the other cool thing would be you could do both a high school division of it, and you could do a college division of it, and we could then make it available to, and then what you literally do is you challenge all 68 of the college teams to come up with to have students come up with their own promotional videos of their schools, right? Who should be in the tournament, why they're going to go the farthest, who's got the best mascot. I mean, all that kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we can make a game out of it. That'd be fun.
And then the whole idea would be the winner. So you'd have a winner of the college division, you'd have a winner of the high school division, and the winner gets a free year of ProBook.
Or everyone could get a free year of ProBook.
Well, you don't want to do that. You want it to be a competition.
I know.
People have to have a reason to compete, right? But what we could do is everyone that submits a video, we could then send a coupon to them after the contest that says, hey, you get 25% off.
Yes.
Or something like
that.
Yes,
it's an opt-in from our audience.
Yeah.
We got merch too. We can send. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's just say we get the high school thing up and off the ground because it's a little less complicated and do that first. After, I mean, this whole thing with all this basketball in Indianapolis is going to generate buzz for several months afterwards, and future competitions and promotions could be all based about preparing for next year. What's your sports program going to be like after the pandemic, that sort of thing. So you're basically right in our backyard. You're just raising the whole profile of this whole concept, and we can run with it in a number of different directions as we move forward.
Okay, cool. So Graham, do you have enough here to kind of put something like a one-page kind of thing together that we could then discuss tomorrow as part of the team meeting?
Yeah, about connection, or kind of like this whole talking about March Madness and
kind
school.
of this whole thing. I think I mean, obviously the March Madness would be the first step, right? But we could even use, well, actually, we could use the publishing of our January and February talks, Craig, to launch the whole. I mean, we could tag on this whole ProBook effort. That could be the piece that we tie.
Oh, sure.
The ProBook competition, right? I like this.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I'll have a summary for the team tomorrow for sure. I'm sure you can fill in the gaps as well.
Okay. Well, I recorded this conversation, so I can put this up on YouTube if it would help to have this to refer to.
Oh, perfect. And then what I'll do is I'll get you guys each other's contact information, right? And then coming out of tomorrow, we'll kind of figure out next steps,
Mhm.
and then and then Graham and I will be back in contact, and we'll start to kind of figure it out, right?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Graham, one of the other things that I want to potentially do is have you come in and help on some of the marketing projects that Craig and I are working on for some of my other companies, right? So just to get another set of younger eyes and that kind of stuff, as well as some different ideas. Plus, I think it'll give you some more and different kinds of experience, right? And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, well, I hate to do this to you, but so Ryan Swadley and John what? See, I'm blanking on his name, man.
Just Ryan and John is good.
Well,
over at Ditchbridge.
Anyway, they're founders at Ditchbridge, and I'm actually kind of stunned that they haven't called me at all and said, "Hey, why aren't we doing something around the March Madness marketing?" So I'm gonna make a phone call and plant that idea in Ryan's brain, and then have him take that to John and see if there isn't a way we can pull Ditchbridge into this and get some free services from them, because they could help with the
help with what you said.
He broke up again, so he's frozen. We'll have to wait till he comes back. Okay, you're back.
Well, I actually just got a phone call, and so when a phone call comes in, before I can hit the red button, it interrupts this. So, but
fine.
So what?
Yeah, definitely be in touch.
John McNulty. Jesus.
Yes.
I'm telling you, dude. It's since COVID. Actually, Graham, figure that out. So since I had COVID in December, I will literally go to try to pull something like somebody's last name that I know. I just can't find it. Right? It's like my brain. But then as soon as but what's funny is, dude, just like this, I mean, literally when I go to do something else, so I was going to, oh shit, I got to move that phone call off and to get back into this, then it pops in. So as soon as I quit focusing on it, then it pops in. So, but that's just since December. I swear, it's weird.
It's a COVID.
It killed some brain cells or something, man. Or I got somebody, or I still have a virus running around up there screwing things up. So
it set up a 10-minute delay on some of your brain cells.
Dude, I don't have time for a 10-minute delay, man. My ADHD won't let that happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Okay, cool. Go. Okay, so is this useful, Graham? Is this good for you?
Yes, great. Okay. Yeah, appreciate the help. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch.
Well, so there's a number of other people that I can kind of pull into this, right? But we got to make sure, because what I tend to do is pull too many people in, right? Because I got lots of shit going on. So let's help me keep this focused, right? And then let's build from there.
Great. Yeah, let's talk as a team tomorrow, and we'll figure the next steps for sure. It sounds great.
All right.
Well, thanks for the selection.
Cool. All
right. Nice meeting you, Graham, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Yeah, sounds good, Craig. I'll definitely reach out to you soon.
All right.
Okay. Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Here, I'll end our video with a branding message.